everybody, and welcome to Reed's Spider-Man Crawl Space Edition. Check us out at the SpidermanCrawlspace.com. Well, everybody, I am here with amazing 850 here. The return of the Green Goblin! I know that was pretty sad. Anyhow, so what did the anniversary issue bring us with the main story by Nick Spencer, Ryan Ottley's final issue of Spider-Man for the time being, along with incredible artists such as, of course, Patrick Gleason, Humberto Ramos, and, of course, our pal, good old Mark Bagley. And then I'll talk a little bit about the backup stories that were in this anniversary issue. So first of all, let's get to the pros. I have to say, I think this is the best depiction I have seen of Norman Osborn since his return after the Clone Saga end. I mean, really, some people have had a problem just hitting Norman Osborn's very dark atmosphere, manipulator, the actual insanity of the Green Goblin. And Spencer really pulls that great. And you get to lovely see the different incorporation between the relationship of Peter Parker that Nick Spencer does, and between the art by both Gleason and Ottley and Ramos, and of course Bagley, just shows this very dark problem that the two of them are dealing with, fighting the Sin Eater. And I have to say, the story going on with the Sin Eater is very crazy, because you see this more kind of like dark element just trying to hunt the two of them down. And it's not really cat and mouse, but Peter and Norman working to try to get away from the Sin Eater, as well as try to figure out how to take him down. And I really love the way the story is convincing, because it really goes from, you know, unlikely allies to very dark to the Norman Osborn we all love and know and hate as he just goes over. And there's some lots of creep factors as Norman, as the story goes more and more, including him meeting Ghost Spider, this Gwen Stacy from Another Universe, which is a nod to Sins Remembered and Sins Past. And it just has quite the story on it. But I really like how Spider-Man actually uses the tactics he's used against the Juggernaut before, with the Sin Eater having those abilities, actually tricking him and having the floor liquidated by Osborn's EMP pulse to actually, you know, slow him down and stop him for the time being. And it's a pretty cool little story. But going to the cons, besides a very strange looking Sin Eater with the powers of the Juggernaut, because here's a problem. Even though he bulks up and gets like a weird head, and which looks kind of cool under Ottley's artwork, which is really good for his grotesque work in Invincible, it's armor. Why doesn't the Sin Eater just get the armor? We've seen Kane Marco and other people who have had the powers of the Juggernaut before, and their skin does not bubble up. It's armor that goes over. They get big and strong, but they have, you know, normal heads. That's kind of weird. Another thing is the Order to the Web is a completely useless piece. You have Julia Carpenter just talking about constantly, oh, but that's not how it works. And as you can see, we, you know, don't let Sin Eater take out Norman Osborn. Spider-Man's going to die. And then later on, she's, well, no, now it's a little too late. Now that you threw him out, even though you left him for the Sin Eater when he frees up, because now Kindred's coming. But I can't tell you about Kindred. No! Oh no, he's coming. Oh, but I can't tell you. I'm the world's worst psychic. People have tried ever since they made Julia Carpenter the new Madam Web, and it just shows right here, even under Spencer, it just doesn't work. Honestly, give her back the Arachne piece, have her be the, you know, mentor for Anya Corzone as the MCC's version of Spider-Girl, and seriously, ditch the Madam Web, make somebody else. Bring back Charlotte Winter, the evil Spider-Woman who was actually the daughter of you know, Madam Web. Make her the new Madam Web, because honestly it would make more sense where she has the powers but they don't know to trust her or not, because it just doesn't work. Also, we're not quite sure, after all this, we still don't know who Kindred is and whose graveyard is he standing by. I mean, it just kind of leaves to a wondering. The story itself is really amazing between Spider-Man and the Green Goblin and Peter and Norman Osborn, and also the creep factor of Norman and how he's gotten away with everything over the years. So I'm going to give it a B+. It's actually a very enjoyable story. Now for the backup stories, let's look at the first one by Kurt Busiek and Chris Bachiko, which actually takes place in Peter in college, a little bit updated, because one thing Busiek said several times was if Untold Tales of Spider-Man, which was a personal favorite of mine, had continued, they would have moved Peter to college and done the Untold Tales of that. And now Kurt Busiek really jumps in on a nice little piece here, using the Star Capsian, using old Doctor Strange villain, actually using Peter, using the Beatles music and All You Need Is Love, everyone, to defeat the Red Lolland. It's nice, but Chris Bachiko's artwork just brings it down. I mean, I don't understand too, and I know Tim Townsend's his inker too, but it just doesn't feel like the Chris Bachiko artwork I used to love on Generation X or his early X-Men work. It just feels odd. Some of the things are a little too crazy, and why they're using an old Doctor Strange and Hulk villain, Mystic villain with the Star Capsian, which I know is a favorite of Kurt Busiek. It makes for a weird story, but at the same time it's just the art just hurts the story, and I don't like it very much. I'll give that one actually a C- because it felt classic, but it really is brought down by the art. Now, why don't we talk about the 4 boxes about a dog that is trapped in a mystical dimension thing by Terrid. I didn't know what the story was. It's definitely a beautiful book, story to look at, but I mean, basically is you have a mystical piece where 2 mystical creatures are fighting it. Peter kind of gets thrown into it in this weird dimensional story, which also seems to be out of Doctor Strange, but without Doctor Strange, and somehow the bad guy's defeated, and all of a sudden they come together and like, oh, let's just be friends and go back to the real world. I don't know what was going on. It was pretty to look at, but it was the most confusing story I've read in quite a couple of years, especially being one of the writers and artists of Silver Surfer Black. I just did not get it. D-. I can't call it an F because the artwork was 9. It was a little fun little story, but I didn't know what happened in the long run. It was just weird. Now, how about the last story by Saldines and Alvenstein, bringing in Tierra Toombs, the granddaughter of the original Vulture. This actually was a fun story. It was nice bringing in a little bit more pieces, as well as instead of as Miles Morales dealt with Tierra in his own book, this really shows how she's more willing to look past because it's her grandfather, and feeling that the superheroes have really kind of just made him to be a bigger monster than he is. But actually Peter, as Spider-Man, shows her that he has done some very horrible things. He has killed, he has done things, and just because he's older now and really can't be the Vulture, and he's doing things for her and her cousin, which is his grandson, he's basically saying she needs to look at the bigger picture and not just blindly follow him just because it's her grandfather, and he does wonderful things for her and he loves her, because he's done some very despicable and evil things, and her being Starling is not really helping matters. And I kind of like it at the end of it. It kind of sets her up to be very gray with the character, which was happening in Miles Morales. But at the same time, I'm hoping it's going to continue of a storyline. It's kind of fun, and Starling's definitely an interesting villain, especially if you're following her out of the Miles Morales book. But it's okay. I'll give it a B- as well. So all in around a very enjoyable anniversary issue, even if you had to drop $10 for it. And I am definitely looking forward to how Last Rites begins, but at the same time we're still not any closer to who Kindred is, and hopefully Last Rites is going to do that. But also at the same time, just the order of Web just brings this down. I'm hoping the tie-in issues and Last Rites coming up with Amazing Spider-Man 50, because you get it, 850, now 50. Will hopefully do it. But I want to tell Ryan Ottley, he did a fantastic job the last couple of years on Spider-Man. I wish he would have been around a little longer. I thought he did a fantastic job with what he could. I loved his work on Invincible. I know things happen. So Ryan, thank you so much for your work on Spider-Man. And on that note, guys, if you want to talk a little bit more about Spider-Man or look for the latest news or information, please check us out at the SpidermanCrawlspace.com. Look for us on our social media tags. Check out our podcast, and definitely join us on Discord for wonderful discussions, or in our message boards. And on that note, everybody, I'm out of here. I will see everybody later for issue 50.